My name is Eleanor. I am 50 years old, and 3 days after my husband's funeral, my daughter told me to leave my own home because I was useless now. The air was thick with the scent of lilies, the kind people bring when they don't know what to say at funerals. I still had his jacket folded neatly on the chair by the window, the faint smell of his cologne clinging like a ghost. Yet before the grief could settle, my daughter, my only child, looked me in the eyes and said words that gutted me deeper than death itself. "Find somewhere else to die, Mom. You're not needed here." Her voice was cold, sharp as glass, and it echoed in the house we'd built brick by brick. If you're watching this, drop a comment below. Tell me where you're listening from, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Because what I'm about to tell you, it's a story of betrayal, greed, and revenge you won't forget. 3 days. That's all it took for the daughter I raised, the girl I sacrificed for, to toss me out like garbage. She had inherited $35 million from her father, along with the house, the cars, the empire he left behind. Me. I had a single suitcase, a broken heart, and nowhere to go. I dragged my bags onto the porch, the evening air biting against my skin. Neighbors pretended not to see. My daughter stood in the doorway with her arms folded, her diamond bracelet glinting under the porch light. That bracelet, it had been my anniversary gift from her father. "Leave it," she snapped when I looked at it. "It's mine now." The betrayal wasn't just in her words. It was in every memory replaying in my head. Christmas mornings when she'd squeal opening gifts, nights I'd stay awake sewing costumes for her school plays, the day I sold my grandmother's locket to pay for her college tuition. And now she wanted me gone. But fate is cruel and clever. Because 3 days later I was sitting in a lawyer's office. Papers on his desk. A smirk tugging at his lips. "Did your daughter even read the will?" he asked me, tapping the page with a finger. I blinked, stunned. "What do you mean?" He leaned back, eyes gleaming. "Let's just say, she celebrated too soon." I froze. For the first time since my husband's death, a strange fire lit in my chest. Maybe grief wasn't my only companion anymore. Maybe revenge was waiting. And what I discovered in that office was about to turn everything upside down. The lawyer's office smelled of polished wood and fresh ink. Heavy blinds filtered the sunlight, striping his desk in sharp lines. My hands trembled as I reached for the papers, half afraid of what they'd reveal, half thirsty for the truth. "Mrs. Hayes," he said, his tone almost mocking, "your husband was a meticulous man. Did your daughter really believe he would hand over everything without conditions?" My pulse hammered. I thought of my husband, Daniel. A disciplined man, ex-military turned entrepreneur, who built our fortune from nothing but grit and sleepless nights. He loved details, contracts, fine print. It was his armor. And apparently it was now my weapon. The document spelled it out. Yes, my daughter Victoria inherited the estate, but only if she fulfilled one very specific clause. She was to provide for me, her mother, ensuring my care, my housing, and my dignity until the day I died. He failed. Everything reverted back to me. I pressed a hand to my mouth. Tears stung my eyes, not from sorrow this time but from a strange cocktail of relief and rage. She hadn't just been cruel. She had been reckless. The lawyer leaned forward. "She threw you out, didn't she?" I nodded, swallowing hard. "Then I suggest," he said, a sly smile curling his lips, "you let her dig her own grave. She's already breached the terms." Walking out of that office, the world looked sharper. The sky bluer. My grief had been cracked open by something hotter. Justice. But alongside that fire came memories. Victoria at 16 slamming doors and screaming, "You don't understand me," while I begged her to stay in school. Victoria at 21, overdrafting her credit cards while I quietly sold my jewelry to cover her debts. Each time I had forgiven. Each time I had cleaned up the wreckage. But this time forgiveness would not come. I went to stay with my younger sister, Claire. She lived in a modest townhouse on the outskirts of the city, juggling 2 jobs and raising her twin boys alone after her husband walked out. She welcomed me with open arms, her eyes soft with pity and fury on my behalf. "You can stay as long as you need," she said, sliding me a cup of coffee across her chipped kitchen table. "But Eleanor, you need to fight back. Don't let Victoria treat you like this." Her words echoed. Fight back. That night, lying on her worn-out couch, I stared at the ceiling. My daughter had taken everything from me, house, dignity, love. But now she was about to learn that the empire she thought she owned wasn't hers at all. I closed my eyes and in the darkness I began to plan. The first move was silence. I didn't storm back to the mansion, didn't call Victoria to scream, didn't even hint at what I knew. Instead, I let her believe she had won. Silence is sharper than any blade. Meanwhile, I prepared. Claire helped me sort through Daniel's old files, the ones Victoria had never bothered to touch. He'd kept copies of everything: deeds, contracts, even receipts from the early years when every cent mattered. And tucked inside a locked box was something else. A handwritten letter addressed to me. Eleanor, it read in his steady script. If you are reading this, then I'm gone. I know Victoria's flaws. I pray she matures, but if she doesn't, I've protected you. Do not be afraid. The law is on your side. I pressed the letter to my chest, my breath shaking. Daniel had known. He had foreseen this. 3 days later my phone buzzed. It was Victoria. Her voice, usually laced with arrogance, now cracked with panic. Mom, I need you to come back. I almost laughed. Why? Didn't you tell me to find somewhere else to die? She stammered. It's complicated. The lawyer says there are clauses. He won't release certain funds until you're living here again. There was the truth finally cracking through her polished mask. Complicated, I said softly. Or consequences? Flashbacks burned through me. Victoria at 12, slamming her bedroom door after I refused to buy her a $600 dress. You don't love me if you say no, she had screamed. That night Daniel held me as I cried, whispering she'll grow out of it. But she never did. And now my daughter's greed had finally trapped her. Claire urged me to seize the moment. Don't rush back. Make her sweat. Make her realize what she's done. So I waited. I let her messages pile up, voicemails thick with desperation. Mom, I'm sorry. Please. I need you here. Mom, the staff won't even listen to me unless you return. Mom, if you don't come back, everything falls apart. The irony was delicious. For years I had been invisible to her. Now suddenly I was indispensable. On the 5th day I decided to pay her a visit. Not to move back in, not yet. But to see her face when she realized the game had changed. Claire drove me to the mansion, the iron gates looming like prison bars. As we pulled up, I saw Victoria on the front steps. Her expensive dress was wrinkled, her makeup smudged, her composure shattered. When her eyes met mine, she looked like a child again, terrified, cornered. Mom, she whispered, voice trembling, please, don't let them take it all away. And in that moment I realized, I wasn't powerless anymore. I was holding every card. Victoria reached for me, but I stepped back, the gravel crunching under my shoes. For the first time in years, I let her feel the distance she had created. Mom, she said again, her voice breaking. I didn't mean what I said. I was angry, confused. I didn't know how to handle things. Her excuses floated in the air like smoke, insubstantial, choking. I studied her. This was the same girl who once slammed the door in my face because I packed the wrong brand of juice in her lunchbox. The same girl who told me on her 16th birthday, all you do is ruin things. And now she wanted me to save her empire. Victoria, I said quietly, you threw me out 3 days after your father's funeral. You told me I was worthless. Her eyes welled. I didn't mean it. Please. The lawyer says I can't touch the trust unless you're here. The staff. They won't even answer my calls. Everything's falling apart. Claire folded her arms beside me, her expression hard. Sounds like consequences to me. I felt Daniel's presence in that moment. His steady voice reminding me not to give in too quickly, not to let pity blind me again. But still, she was my daughter. And that ache in a mother's heart never truly dies. Why should I help you now? I asked. My voice was calm, deliberate. After everything you've said? After everything you've done? She opened her mouth, then closed it. No words came. Just tears streaking down a face that had once been so smug, so untouchable. That night, I returned to Claire's townhouse instead of staying at the mansion. Victoria begged me to reconsider, but I walked away, the echo of her pleas chasing me to the car. Inside Claire's living room, the twins were building Lego castles, their laughter filling the air. It was a sharp contrast to Victoria's empty mansion, hollow despite all its wealth. Don't you dare feel guilty, Claire told me firmly. She's made her bed. Let her lie in it. I nodded, but sleep eluded me. Memories gnawed at me, nights of fever when Victoria was a baby, when I'd sit by her crib praying for her to breathe easier. Birthday cakes I stayed up all night baking. The long drives to ballet practice. She had once been my entire world. But now she was my opponent. The next morning my phone rang. Victoria again. Her voice was sharp this time, edged with desperation and anger. If you don't come back, Mom, I'll lose everything. You'll regret it if you let that happen. Her words sent a chill down my spine. Because suddenly this wasn't just about money anymore. It was war. Her threat lingered in my ears long after I hung up. You'll regret it. It wasn't the voice of a desperate daughter. It was the hiss of entitlement, the venom of someone who thought I'd always bend. But this time I wouldn't bend. I contacted the lawyer again. His office smelled of ink and leather-bound law books when I stepped inside, the air heavy with the weight of secrets. Mr. Franklin, I said, steadying my breath, tell me exactly what happens if Victoria fails to meet the conditions. He leaned back in his chair, folding his hands. Simple. The assets revert to you. The house, the accounts, the business shares. Everything. My heart pounded. And she knows this? She does now, he said with a sly grin. Which explains her sudden change of heart. Walking out of that office, I felt taller than I had in weeks. For the first time since Daniel's death, I wasn't a victim. I was the heir, the executor, the one with power. That night, Claire and I spread papers across her dining table. The twins peeked over from the couch, curious about the secret grown-up stuff. Claire shook her head and muttered, Victoria's about to learn what happens when you mess with family. I smiled faintly. Family. The word cut deep. Because Victoria had forgotten what it truly meant. The next day Victoria showed up unannounced at Claire's door. Her designer heels clicked angrily against the floor, her perfume wafting too strong, like she tried to mask desperation with Chanel. Mom, we need to talk now. Claire stepped in front of me. You don't get to barge in here and demand anything. Victoria's eyes flicked to her aunt with disdain, then locked on me. They're freezing the accounts, Mom. I can't access a dime. Do you understand what this means? My friends are already asking questions. I can't live like this. Her panic almost made me pity her. Almost. Victoria, I said evenly, your father didn't build this fortune so you could squander it on appearances. He built it to protect this family. And right now you're failing him. Her lip trembled. So you'll come back? I shook my head. Not yet. First I want proof. Proof you can treat me with the respect I deserve. Her eyes flared with fury. You're blackmailing me? No, I whispered, stepping closer. I'm teaching you. For the first time in your life. Her breath hitched. For the first time she realized, this wasn't her game anymore. It was mine. Victoria stormed out of Claire's townhouse, her heels striking the pavement like gunshots. I watched from the window, my chest tight but my resolve firm. For the first time my daughter was powerless. And I intended to keep it that way. The following week was strangely quiet. No more midnight threats. No desperate calls. Just silence. But silence with Victoria was never peace. It was plotting. Claire warned me. She's not done. She'll come back swinging. You need to be ready. I believed her. Because Victoria had always been Daniel's mirror in one way. She hated losing. Sure enough, the storm broke 2 days later. A letter arrived from her lawyer, claiming I was mentally unfit to oversee the estate, demanding medical evaluations and suggesting my recent instability disqualified me. My blood boiled. She wasn't just greedy, she was ruthless. Flashbacks tore through me, Victoria at 17 screaming, "You're insane," when I grounded her for sneaking out. The way she'd weaponize words to cut me down, to make me question my own sanity. And now she was doing it again. But this time I had armor. I marched into Mr. Franklin's office, letter in hand. He read it once, then smirked. Classic intimidation tactic, he said. But don't worry. You're of sound mind. And Daniel's paperwork is ironclad. If she wants war, she'll lose. His confidence steadied me. I realized I wasn't the trembling widow anymore. I was a woman with fire in her veins. That night, I sat at Claire's dining table drafting a letter of my own. Not one of defense but of offense. A formal petition to reclaim every asset Victoria had already mishandled. Bank statements showed her draining accounts for luxury trips, a new sports car, even a business investment that was nothing more than a nightclub in Miami. I had receipts. And soon I would have the courts. But before I could send the letter, Victoria appeared again. This time not in anger but in ruin. She showed up on Claire's doorstep at midnight, mascara smeared, clutching her phone like a lifeline. "Mom," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "They're going to take it all. Please, don't do this. I need you." Her desperation rang true, but my heart no longer bent. "You need me?" I asked softly. 3 days after your father's funeral, you said I was useless. Tell me, Victoria, what changed?" Her tears glistened under the porch light. "Because, without you I have nothing." And in that moment I knew I finally had her exactly where I wanted her. The night air was cold, sharp against my skin as Victoria stood there trembling. For years she had held the power, her beauty, her charm, her entitlement, but now all of it had crumbled. "Nothing," I repeated, my voice low. "You had $35 million, a mansion and everything your father built. And you still managed to lose it all in less than a month." She shook her head, clutching her arms like a frightened child. "I didn't know. I didn't understand the conditions. I thought it was all mine. Please, Mom, don't let them strip it away." Flashbacks pierced me. Her 10th birthday party, when she had screamed because the cake wasn't the right color. Her college years, when she maxed out 3 credit cards in one semester. Her father had always said she'll learn responsibility someday. But she never did. And now, finally, life had forced the lesson. Claire appeared in the doorway, her robe tied tight, her eyes narrowing. "You can't just barge into this house whenever you want, Victoria. Respect is earned." Victoria's lips quivered, but she ignored her aunt, staring only at me. "I'll do anything, Mom. I'll let you move back in. I'll listen to you. Just don't let me lose everything." The irony was almost laughable. 3 days after Daniel's funeral, she had thrown me out like a stray dog. And now she was begging me to come home. I stepped closer, letting the silence stretch. "If I come back," I said slowly, "it won't be as your shadow. It won't be as the woman you discard when you're bored. If I come back, Victoria, I will take control." Her eyes widened. "Control?" "Yes," I said, steel in my voice. "Full authority over the estate. Every account. Every property. You'll get an allowance, small, reasonable. And you'll respect me or you'll have nothing." Her face crumpled. "That's not fair." "Neither," I whispered, "is telling your grieving mother she's useless." The words hit her like a slap. She staggered back, hands covering her face. Claire watched silently, her eyes fierce with pride. Victoria's sobs filled the night. "Please, don't take it all from me." But the truth was she had already lost it. Her greed, her arrogance, they had done the work for me. And as I looked at her, broken on that porch, I realized Daniel's will hadn't just protected me. It had given me the chance to teach our daughter the lesson she had avoided her whole life. The only question left was, would I show mercy or finish what she started? Victoria's sobs echoed in the quiet night, raw and jagged. Part of me wanted to reach for her, to cradle her like the child she once was. But the other part, the part that remembered every cruel word, every dismissal, stood rooted to the ground. I had spent my entire life protecting her. Tonight I chose to protect myself. The following week I met with Mr. Franklin again. Together we drafted the paperwork. Transfer of control. Every account, every deed, every share in Daniel's company would be placed in my name. Victoria would remain as beneficiary, but only under my oversight. When she arrived at the office, her face pale and streaked with sleeplessness, she gasped at the stack of papers waiting for her. "What is this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Your choice," I said calmly. "Sign and you'll still have a roof over your head, a modest allowance and a future. Refuse and you lose everything." Her hands shook as she gripped the pen. For the first time in her life, she wasn't holding power. She was surrendering it. She signed. Driving home, I stared out the car window at the fading skyline. I thought of Daniel, of the quiet strength he carried, of the faith he had in me. He must have known I would face this day, that I'd need not just protection, but a way to reclaim my dignity. Flashbacks came in waves. rocking Victoria to sleep as an infant, her tiny hand clutching my finger, cheering at her high school graduation, the proud smile I wore at her wedding day. Memories that once felt like blessings now stung like betrayals. Still, I couldn't erase the truth. She was my daughter. Broken, selfish, but mine. A week later, I moved back into the mansion. Not as the cast-out widow. Not as the shadow in the hallway. But as the rightful head of the Hayes legacy. The staff greeted me with quiet relief. Victoria kept to her room, her once loud footsteps replaced with silence. And for the first time in years, the house felt steady. One evening, as I stood on the balcony overlooking the gardens, Claire joined me with a glass of wine. "You did it," she said softly. "You turned her own cruelty into your strength." I nodded, the cool night air brushing my face. She wanted me gone. Instead, I became the one thing she couldn't survive without. If you've ever faced betrayal, share your story in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe. Because sometimes the deepest wounds lead to the sharpest victories. And when I think of Victoria's downfall, only one truth remains clear. Revenge is best served cold.